Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Israel Update. You're going to hear from Dubi in just a moment. But before we get into that, every week I know I'm talking about the same thing. And I really want to be able to bring different angles to you because I think what is lacking today is true education about what is going on with Israel, not just from a biblical perspective, from a sociological perspective and a political perspective as well. Now, there are so many people in the world that know infinitely more than I do. They're infinitely more eloquent than I am. And I wish I could have these people on the show. But the best I can do for right now is play videos of some of these people. And one of my favorites is Douglas Murray. And I love him for so many reasons. And one of the things that really fascinates me about him is that he's not a Christian guy. He proclaims himself to be an atheist, but he has such a deep understanding of why Israel matters, why the Jews are important, and why the PR battle is so dangerous when Israel is losing it, which it currently is. Just on the day of this filming, we always record a little earlier so that the show's ready for you guys on Friday. A couple of Jewish people were stabbed in London, and it was an anti-Semitic attack just because they were Jews. And signs were posted in varying parts of Europe saying, in specific hotels saying, no Jews or dogs allowed. And the fact that we've reverted back to that kind of anti-Semitism that's on display and that's being accepted is absolutely horrifying. But I want to play you this clip by Douglas Murray now, and I'm going to interrupt it at certain points, but please listen to what it is that he's saying. He's doing an infinitely better job than I could speaking about why this is such an important topic. So we're going to go ahead and start that video now.
Mamdani is clearly a radical, clearly has Islamist tendencies, has refused to condemn calls for intifada in America, by the way. I mean, it's astonishing. Can you imagine? I mean, somebody who believes that intifada is a desirable thing, this is horrific, horrifying. And it's astonishing watching it because this is what we've seen in Britain and in Europe for many years, which is the emergence of radical figures who clearly hate our way of life in the West, many of whom have arrived, like Mamdani, very recently. And they pretend that they've dropped their sectarian politics, but they haven't. And they pretend to have dropped their Islamist attitudes, but very often they haven't. To my mind, all of these countries, Britain, Europe, America, Canada, they're experiencing a little bit of what Israel cannot turn away from.
I'm going to pause it there for a second now. What he's saying here is so important because he's speaking specifically about Mamdani, but he's talking about different figures that have infiltrated these Western nations and they pretend to have let go of specific ideologies, but they haven't. And we see that with Iran. We see that with so many different countries where democracy is not something that they aspire to. Winning is what they aspire to, and it's by any means necessary. And we have to remember that within Islam, taqiyya is a principle that exists, which is that it is seen as a positive thing for you to lie if it means furthering the cause of Islam. It's seen as a positive thing and you will be rewarded for it. But what he's saying here is that what we're experiencing, for instance, with Mamdani, with varying figures like this, is just a tiny taste of what it is like in Israel, and they cannot get away from it. Let's carry on.
Cannot ignore. And the question is then, do we in the rest of the West accept this challenge, face up to it and face it down? Or do we just allow ourselves to be constantly rolled over by extremely hostile actors? That's question for all of us. And I'm in a way, like a lot of Israelis, I'm uncomfortable, to put it at its mildest, the way in which Israel has been thrown to the forefront by these radicals who have no say in the matter. I mean, for instance, the mayor of New York isn't meant to have a foreign policy. I mean, he or she is meant to make sure that for once the garbage bags are collected and there aren't rats on the streets and that you can get on the subway without being set on fire or shot or stabbed. These are all good things to do. But like his would-be counterparts elsewhere, Israel and obsession with Israel and Israeli foreign policy and Israeli defense policy becomes the number one issue for them. And that is really alarming. And it should be and will be, I know, very alarming to a lot of Israelis because this is too much attention and negative, deliberately hostile attention. Why should a foreign war be litigated in a domestic local politics, except that, as with counterparts in the UK like that, they cannot get off their obsession with Israel. And I explain at a couple of points in the book why that is. And again, I don't think most people in the West, and I think a lot of Israelis don't understand don't understand the depth of the hatred and the bigotry and where it actually comes from. And unless we zap at some point ideologically the roots of the cancer of this, it will just spread. So I'm for identifying and zapping the roots of the ideological cancer.
This right here, the way he said that I thought was absolutely phenomenal. He's speaking about how this obsession with Israel, what he's really saying in his terms, he doesn't believe in God, but what he's saying in his terms, in our terminology, would be this is some kind of demonic obsession. What does the mayor of New York have to do with Israeli foreign policy? It's not supposed to even be a topic. Like he was saying, it's supposed to be, we'll run the city. But there's this obsession with Israel, this obsession with what's going on in that nation, and an absolute obsession with the Jews. And we're seeing this the world over. And so every week I say it, and I will continue to do so. And if this is the one place that's left where there is a voice that sounds a little like the watchman on the wall, so be it, because I know exactly what it is that Kim would be doing if he was still alive, and he would be boots on the ground in Israel. He would be giving, he would be sowing, he would be declaring, he would be prophesying, and he would be there no matter what. And so although we can't do what he did, the least that we can do is say that no matter what, we do stand with Israel, and we continue to cry out the declaration that Kim did, which is that Israel is forever. That's what we do, that's who we are, and we're not going to stop. I don't care how many people on either side come at us. You know, you get the leftists that go crazy, and now you get the right or the Reich going crazy. But there are voices of reason, like Douglas Murray. There are voices of reason, and we're going to be grateful for those voices, and we're going to trust God together that he is going to cause truth to reign, and that the eyes of people's hearts would be open and enlightened. But that's what I have to say for this week. And for now, let's go to this report from Dubi.
Shalom, shalom, Israel partners, and welcome to our weekly report. And this week we're reporting to you about what's happening in Israel. In Israel, we are still in the midst of the same story of the war with Hezbollah mainly. Up in the north, unfortunately, last week we lost 2 Israeli soldiers already because of the new drones that the Hezbollah is using with special optic fibers that is very hard to destruct, and you can't fight it electronically. So now Israel is looking for solutions in this arena, even consulting with Ukraine that has a lot of experience with the Russian drones, and hopefully we will find a solution for that. But you know, within Israel, a lot of Israelis are devastated by the news that are coming from the United States of America about another attempt to assassinate Donald Trump, and also the former head of the FBI, Comey, that was arrested. We are literally devastated in Israel because, you know, we shared this with you so many times. There was never a friend and a president in the White House that was such a great ally of Israel, and we don't believe that this is the way of the enemy. This is the way of the adversary that ever since 2016 already, I think 4 or 5 times they tried to shoot him. They arrested people with guns next to the places where he was. You know, Kim spoke so many times about a mold in the White House, about traitors, about treason, about, things that will be exposed concerning the White House and the administration and the president. And we're seeing this coming into fruition. He prophesied so many times about Russia, about Iran, Turkey being in bed together against the West. And we're seeing this even now when America is negotiating, or sometimes not even negotiating, with the Iranians in Pakistan. We hear that the Egyptians are coming to speak against America continuing the war. We hear about Turkey, and Erdogan is telling America to stop. We hear about the Chinese, we hear about the Russians. Everyone is against the US and against Israel. Even the British ambassador to America, to Washington DC, he was mocking and saying, yes, special relationships, it's not Britain and America, it's America and Israel. So, you know, this is something that the enemy, the adversary, is very much afraid of, the alignment and the alliance between Israel and the US. So for us, it's as if they try to kill Bibi. For us, we are praying for the American president every day in our prayers, because we know that he means the best for Israel and he means the best for the US. I'm sorry if it sounds too much political, and you know I'm not voting in America. The midterm elections are coming in a few months, but I want you to know from an Israeli perspective, and probably from a godly perspective, and definitely from our prophet Kim Clement's perspective, Donald Trump is the David in the White House. He's a praying president. He is the one that stands together with Israel, and that's why I chose to speak about him in most of my update today, because we need to pray firmly and strongly for the leader of the free world, because even Europe, even members of NATO, the other day, the Chancellor of Germany was coming against the United States and against America, and he was mocking America for the way they conduct the war. It's very simple for the US to drop one big bomb on Iran and finish with it. But we are not fighting this way. We're making a separation between the people of Iran, the people that held hostages by their evil regime, and between the Iranian government and the Iranian regime. And therefore, it's a very complicated war. And we feel that the siege around the Hormuz Strait is really crippling the Iranian economy. It's affecting the world. It's affecting China and Russia, because a lot of their trade and most of their petrol is coming from there. And I think that America should keep on this effective means of conducting a war, making sure that no one comes in, no one goes out without America monitoring them. And I know that the Iranians will surrender. Please, Lord God of Israel, I'm praying for you, for your wisdom now for President Trump, not to listen to a lot of people that surrounds him right now and whisper on his ears and try to hinder his attempt to suffocate the Iranian regime. Please don't let him now give up, because some people were saying, and you know, there's all kinds of news release and maybe lies on Reuters and New York Times that America is considering to declare a victory one-sided and withdraw from the war and all these kind of stories. It's not going to work with Iran. We need to make sure that they will submit to the international law and that they will give up on their nuclear facilities and on nuclear plans, and to give up on their missile and long-range missile program, because it's not only risking Israel, it's risking the rest of the world as well. So on that note, I want you to know that in Israel, we are literally praying for the alliance between America and Israel to continue. We know that today, as we are in this situation, waiting for clearance that will come from the Persian Gulf, we are also in a place where we know for sure that within Israel, we see even the political enemies of Benjamin Netanyahu are now reunited. Lapid and Bennett, which used to be former prime ministers in Israel, are doing a united front right now against Netanyahu. They think that this way they're going to defeat the righteousness and defeat the only man who dared to go after Iran, who dared to do his very best for pushing them back and making sure that they will never have a nuclear facility, a nuclear bomb, so they can threaten Israel's very existence. And these people, these little peons of the Israeli politics, are trying to mount on a mountain that is too big for them. And I hope that the Israeli public is not going to go fools and follow these people, so-called themselves leaders, liars. For so many times, each and every one of them declared, we will not sit in another government with Lapid. And Bennett said, and Lapid said, I will never sit in a government with Bennett. And these people were targeting each other. All of a sudden, all the forces of evils in the politics are united against the only prime minister who dared to do something and to secure the Israeli future. And therefore, I'm telling you, both in the US, as you're coming into your midterm elections, and in Israel, people should be very well aware of what's on the stake right now. On the stake is the greatest relationship between America and Israel. On the stake now is the very existence of Israel. That without a strong, determined American administration that stands with Israel, this is not going to end up well for Israel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for standing with us. Thank you, God, for putting Israel and America together against the evil forces of this world.
Hello, friends. I'm Danae Clement Petrushka, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside. This week, America watched another horrifying moment unfold. What should have been a formal evening in Washington turned into chaos when a gunman was stopped at the White House Correspondents' Dinner before he could reach the ballroom where President Trump, the First Lady, Vice President J.D. Vance, and top administration officials were gathered. The White House has called this the third major assassination attempt against President Trump in just 2 years. And once again, the country is being forced to confront something deeper than just one disturbed individual. What kind of atmosphere has been created in this nation? What kind of hatred has been normalized? What kind of spiritual darkness keeps driving people toward violence? You can debate policy. You can disagree politically. But when the language of demonization becomes constant, when people are painted as monsters day after day, eventually someone unstable decides they are justified in acting on it. And that is where we are. Today, we're going to look at the news. We're going to look at the spiritual pattern behind it, and we're going to look at what my dad, Kim Clement, warned years ago about lone wolves, attacks on America, and the need for the church not to retreat in fear. This is a spiritual battle over a nation, over leadership, and over whether the people of God will respond with fear or with faith. We have Andrew Sorcini from Beverly Hills Precious Metals with us today. Someone has a 401k. Can they take some of that and purchase gold as an investment for their future?
They can, and it's a great way to do it, because if you have an IRA, a government TSP account, a 401k from a company that you used to work at but don't work at anymore, or if you still work at the company and you're over 59 and a half, these can be rolled over into a precious metals IRA. And if you were to speak to your financial advisor about it, they'll tell you, oh, this is a taxable event. They'll tell you things like gold and silver are volatile. But really, the thing is, they don't want you to get into precious metals because it doesn't benefit them monetarily. I'm here to tell you that your accounts can be rolled into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. And you would own real gold and silver that is stored in a third-party depository that's insured in a lockbox with your name on it.
So if someone goes to bh-pm.com, is that the correct website? Okay, and that's going to be on the bottom of the screen. If they go there today, what do they need to do?
Okay, so there's an online form there, and the form, almost every page on the website has the online form. So you just fill in your first name, last name, email address, telephone number, say that Kim Clement sent you, or the House of Destiny. We'll know what you mean. And in the notes section, be as detailed as you can. Sometimes people put things in there like, I'm a complete novice. I really don't understand precious metals. I've been wanting to understand. I want to invest, but really I need more information first. Then put that in there. If you're someone that's been investing in gold and silver for years and really don't need a consultation, you just want to check prices, then put that in there.
Everybody watching, if you are interested in precious metals, this is where you want to go. Thanks again.
Thank you.